Redlands, we played with, I think it was 5 scholarship players and 3 walk-ons. And, I think I was the last one to go in the game just as I was the freshman walk-on. And I ended up playing, I think it was like 19 minutes. And of course I remember my stats because it's the only game I played in. And I had like 2 points and 2 rebounds, 4 assists maybe. And I'm like, hey, I can do this. Like, hey, put me in the game, Coach Wright. Put me in the game. And I think I got in another minute in the first game of Maui. And, just being an 18-year-old kid, full of confidence, I was like, hey, I might be in the rotation maybe. And, played my first 3 games. And I think I played like 3 games, maybe 3 minutes the rest of the year because, then you came back and everyone came back. And, I had to take a step back and, again, realize why I was doing it and the role I served on our teams. And then, again, that was kind of my initial introduction to Villanova and where I kind of found my place in the program. But still remember, again, you've talked about it on this show, but just the incredible people in our locker room, but also the staff. Like, I remember Coach Pitney after the Redlands game. And I think my initial conversations with Coach Wright and Coach Lang were, hey, let's see how it works out being a walk-on, because they really didn't know me. I mean, I just got into Villanova 3 weeks before the school year. And, normally you come up on a visit and you meet with anyone, even if you're a walk-on, because they want to know who's in their locker room. Walk-ons, as I know you understand, because, the relationship we've had for going on now 18 years, they play an important role in a program and really kind of keep the culture together in a different role than the guys on the court. But Coach Pitney kind of said, hey, man, I think you earned your 4-year deal, for all 4 years. So, just things like that, just the people around Villanova, how they made me felt throughout my 4 years, but especially that first year when, I knew I was the new guy. I knew I wasn't around all summer. I'm sure there were plenty of guys when I walked in the locker room the first day being like, who's this kid? But, you never felt that way. From day one, Coach doesn't use the word family because there's no real need. But we are. And again, you've spoken on it, just all the relationships you've built, and even, guys 5 years ahead of you and guys that, were 5 years behind you that to this day, if you have to pick up the phone and call and say, hey, can you help me out? Or do you know someone that can help me out? They pick up the phone and they'll make those 2 or 3 calls to help you out in whatever it is.
Right. And I think that's so key. We talk about it a lot. Specifically, you're touching on a topic that I think people don't understand. Talk about what does it mean specifically to be a walk-on at Villanova as opposed to other programs? Because you have experience now where you've seen other programs, you have come in contact with other individuals or coaches that talk about it. What is the difference that, from your experience, that set Villanova above, the rest of the competition?
And now being on the other side of it for 14 years coaching, I always remember Coach Wright's line. We don't all have the same responsibility, but we all deserve the same respect. And I think, a deeper thing, obviously Attitude Club, which there's no one better than Jason Fraser with that, is, there were nights that maybe Randy scored 20 and Kyle scored 20 and A-Ray scored 20, and you might have only had 4 points, but, your job was to defend and rebound and block shots and protect the paint. And at the end of the day in our locker room, we knew that you were the game MVP. Like, the reason we won the game was because Jason Fraser did what he was supposed to do. And that even though Randy scored 20, we knew that on defense, maybe he didn't make 3 or 4 rotations that he was supposed to. And people on the outside just saw the box score and said, we won because Randy scored 20. But, internally, your responsibility was, these 4 things, and you took care of it. And that's why we won the game. Or me and Tommy Grace and Baker and Mikey, the day before, our job was to run the scout team and, play as hard as we could to prepare you guys. And if we didn't do that the day before, well, we weren't doing our job. Right. And again, no one was going to ask me to come do an interview like we're doing right now. But I knew that you guys respected it enough that if I didn't dive after a loose ball the day before, then you weren't going to dive after the ball the next night. And, I think that's why, you saw why we were there. Our teams get better and better and better. And really, we talk about Villanova basketball, the brand really, you could see it being built. We got there. I got there in year 3. You got there in year 2, if I'm correct, right? For Coach Wright?
Yes, it was year 2.
Like I always think about just your 4 years, but my 4 years of how you saw things happen on a day-to-day basis that no longer was Coach Wright having to remind us or yell at us because, you guys were juniors and seniors. And again, I'm the walk-on. Like, what's it really matter if the ball's going out of bounds and I dive on it? But for you guys, if I didn't dive on it and you didn't say something to me, then, as leaders, what example were you setting for everyone else in the gym? That it didn't matter who you were. That was everyone's responsibility. And we respected each other enough that we were going to do it. And, and then it's no surprise that you start winning, and you start winning a lot, and you start winning championships and going to NCAA tournaments and advancing in NCAA tournaments, because, day one, when you step into the gym, that if you don't do all that other stuff, of course, Coach Wright, you're fearful that he's going to yell at you, but, you were more fearful that you were going to yell at him, or Randy, or A-Ray. You guys tell all the Kyle stories, but, I think that was the greatest example of it, that, Coach Wright basically said, hey, you guys want to be good, you take over. And, I give Kyle a lot of credit because he was really the only younger guy at that point that was playing. And all of us had 3 or 4 years of experience. Like, we knew why he was yelling. And maybe your freshman and sophomore year, I was there sophomore year. I knew there were some times that we'd all look at each other and like, we don't get it. We don't know why he's yelling. But that's the difference in, I think we ended up like 15 and 15 in the regular season.
Yeah. Yes.
And then the next year, you're whatever it is, 25 and 8, because just, those little things in close ball games, instead of losing by 2, you win by 2. And it's all the things that people don't see on a day-to-day basis that was happening in practice. I'm still laughing. I just listened to the Curtis one last week, but the drill you guys had to do,
the war drill.
The war drill.
Oh my gosh, it was the worst.
I was probably out of drills at that point because you guys, the forwards on one end competing,
right.
And I was the 5th guard, so they only let 4 guards in the drill. So they'd be competing, and I'd be watching you guys, just beat each other up. I mean, like you said it was a fist fight. But then the next night when we went to Providence or we went to Syracuse, and you were in the paint and there was actually a referee calling fouls, it was probably a lot easier. Like at least when you got smacked or tackled, you got to shoot 2 free throws, not told you missed a layup, you got to run up and down and then come back and get in the drill. Right. So, and again, now on the coaching side, as I've, matured as a coach and seen it happen with different teams, you think back to where we were as freshmen and sophomores and understand why we might have been really talented, but just not winning the way we thought we should have been winning.